Hi there, folks. Welcome to Us As We Are. I'm Keegan Van Hook. In this episode, we're going to be talking with 3 Ashland residents on the subject of the recent murder of Aidan Ellison.
November 23rd, Aidan Ellison, who's a 19-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, a resident of Ashland or used to go to Ashland High School, was murdered, shot and killed by a 47-year-old Caucasian male.
This idea of judging somebody from their color or how they look like, this have to be addressed very publicly so that those generations that are coming understand that at this point of time, everybody came together and openly said that, okay, this is happening, let's not get away from it.
I'm surprised by it. When the first newspaper article came on Facebook, I went, oh, that can't be real, because it was just a simple, one-line thing, and that was it. And I went, maybe this is faux news.
There are people that literally move here to cater and sell out. I'm done with all of that because now we have a dead 19-year-old, didn't get to even live to be 20 years old. He did not get to live to be a grown man. I'm done.
And sound. This is love. As the record plays. Love.
All right, folks, we're here with Mmmingpha. Mmmingpha, it's been a long time. Why don't you, first, how about you introduce yourself and then just sort of tell us, since last we spoke to you on camera, where you've been and what you've been doing.
So my name is Mmmingpha Hruahtm, and I'm a Dharma Oromila Unsui. Unsui is a Zen itinerant monk, and I used to lead BPOC caucus at the Unitarian Church, and now I'm the leader of Mmmingpha Sangha, which is also strongly linked and affiliated with the Unitarian Church Fellowship in Ashland, Oregon. People may know me for the Feds Out of Portland March from over the summer, but I also helped to lead the Defund the Police March, the March on Dead Indian Road, and also the prayer ceremony vigil that we had for the wildfire disaster victims and victims of police 2020 violence, and also the last march that we had early September against white supremacy, homelessness, which was Ordinance 3189, and also we marched against child sexual assault.
So then after that, you kind of disappeared from Ashland for a while. Do you want to tell folks where you've been?
Yeah, I was living at the edge of Ashland where the wildfires hit, so I ended up getting evacuated through a series of bizarre circumstances to Williams. I ended up staying in Williams for roughly 2 months, and then I was put on the Mayor's Coalition a short while ago, just as one of her assistants and community organizing. I still need to get wildfire relief assistance, but I have some friends in the community that are helping me out, and actually heard about the murder of Aidan Ellison, and had some organizing to do here for that, so things just kind of came together.
And that's what we're going to talk about today with you. And tell me again who else we're going to be speaking with today.
We're going to have Amit Choudhary here in a brief moment, and we're also going to have possibly one of the women from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship.
All right, all that next.
I'll take my mask off when I'm talking. I'm Victoria Kindell. I'm from the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I've lived in Ashland for 30 years and used to run a history museum here, so I'm real interested in the history, and there has definitely been racism in the history of Ashland. So anyway, and the Unitarian Church has always wanted to combat that. So anyway, that's one reason why I'm here.
Victoria, fabulous to meet you. And you, sir?
Hello, my name is Amit, and I live here in Ashland for last 3 years, and I met Ming through one of these events that I used to do and it was about to spread awareness of meditation in the society. And from there, we have been involved in a couple of other events that were focused on equality and addressing the things like racism and these hate crimes that are happening with the music and with some positive change. And that's why today I'm here to with all of these guys to share with you what I have a little bit on this recent event that happened here in Ashland.
So let's start from there. Let's just get some context first. Why are we all here today, and what are we talking about?
So on November 23rd, Aidan Ellison, who's a 19-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, a resident of Ashland or used to go to Ashland High School, was murdered, shot and killed by a 47-year-old Caucasian male. Um, I've actually read his name, but I'm so, part of me is so furious. Meditation has been keeping me calm, but a part of me is definitely so furious that I didn't even want to take the time to learn this person's name. They had an argument about him playing music. They were separated, broken up in conversation, or either in a fight that may possibly have ensued. But they were separated, and then the Caucasian male went and got a gun and then shot him, or pulled a gun from his apparatus and shot him. And this is after there was no more contact or conflict. There was no endangerment of life or anything happening. He just decided to do that.
I think everyone agrees this is a racially motivated murder. It's a hate crime. There are some people who are trying to say it's not, but it is. And people in Ashland have said for a long time, well, not here in Ashland because it's a progressive town, but sometimes progressive towns are still racist, and there is systemic racism in the Rogue Valley, and there's no way to deny that. And that's one reason we're having this conversation. And there are a lot of conversations going on now in Ashland about this. And in our church, the Rogue Valley Unitarian Church, it was founded by some people who, in response to racism, the first black student who signed up to SOU in 1955, a cross was burned on this SOU campus. And a black family's car broke down around that time in Ashland. And the police told them they could not spend the night in Ashland, even though they had no means to leave the town.
Yeah, did you have something to add to that?
I would say I have been in America for the last 5 years, and I think I the first time that I had an incident that involved racism personally was when I was studying in Utah State University, and I was said something on the terms of what was going on at that time, and maybe the person who was insecure, uh, they addressed me as somebody coming from a terrorist community or something like that. And that kind of happens when I am on the airports too sometimes, like extra checking and maybe I thought maybe first time it's my bag or first time it's something that it's, something that is like suspicious or something. If it every time happens, I started understanding that there is a hidden idea of how people look like to judge them, and it was in the back of my mind until uh, recently all the events that have been happening that we all know since the last year, and these things are getting exposed, and it's very important, I think, that we make the use of this time to address this I would say a very this idea of judging somebody from their color or how they look like. This have to be addressed very publicly so that the generations that are coming understand that at this point of time uh, everybody came together and openly said that okay, this is happening, let's not get away from it. Recently when I met Ming, I think he's doing tremendous job in providing platform for people to speak up, and a lot of people from community are coming together, and they are doing tremendous job by just showing up, which is very important. Like which shows that people still have the faith in the basic human principles, and they are not standing with something that is very much exterior, or like that is not just an ideology that is supposed to hurt humanity. And which is why I have extended my all the support that I can offer to Ming, and whatever is needed in this moment. I think all of us have a responsibility to come together, because these are the times when there are times, I think, it should be acted upon, because uh, certain times in the history, they just require your action at the right time. So I think we'll keep on doing this, and more of it, and hopefully we'll make it more publicly exposed what is happening to a certain community. And I think that's important. That's why I'm here. That's why we are doing this vigil that is recently coming in.
Yeah, so let's talk about the vigil. Why don't, Mingpha, you first, just tell us what you're going to do with this vigil, and then we can talk to Victoria and Ahmed here about their roles in it.
The first thing is the kind of deep cleansing and intense purification that the Zen Dharanis tend to bring, that I've seen in my own daily life. I'd like to bring that to this town to remove this heavy karmic ignorance and greed that seems to be festering in the Rogue Valley. Then I'd like for Amit, who is actually from India, although people tend to exaggerate or use his looks to create Islamophobia. He's actually from India and is very strongly experienced in tradition from the part of India that he is, which I've never heard of before. Not to say I've never heard of it like it's not of any worthiness. It's definitely from a Vedic and yogic background, but I had never heard specifically of that type until meeting him, and it's very strong, very strong. I've definitely been encouraging him to return to teaching it, because I think that we can prevent things like this from happening if more people are aware of this meditation practice and aware of this breathing practice and this life practice that he is able to offer. So I'd like to have him involved, obviously, and then Ifa Layomi, who's a priestess in the Ifa tradition of Nigeria. She'll be there. She was in the prayer ceremony vigil we did for the autumn equinox for the wildfire disaster victims. Messenger Sela is going to be involved with Rastafari traditional wisdom and experience. My Lakota elder, Chris Brooks, is also going to be involved again. And there's a variety of other people that are entering, but I don't want to speak on them yet, just so things can get situated. And then the other thing is to address Dead Indian Road being completely removed. I've given the Native Council a significant amount of time to answer. I sent them a letter on the 4th of July after them threatening to call the police on me for marching on the road. Not that I think it was the entire Native Council, but definitely a few people have done that. And I was informed by people affiliated with them that was what was going on, which can be announced later. So I sent them a letter in response to it. And I gave them until the end of this year pretty much to do something, and nothing's been done. I got sent a letter by Mandy Ayapa that within a 2-month period of time that they may change the name of the road. I still think that them changing the name of the road is primary, but the road needs to not exist anymore. And between that, the previous sundown law, and the Confederate flags that are being allowed in Oregon, as well as the racist undertones of Ashland, not only Caucasian, but also sellouts who cater to white culture, which are not always European people. Some of them are Native American, some Latino, some African. There are people that literally move here to cater and sell out. I'm done with all of that, because now we have a dead 19-year-old, didn't get to even live to be 20 years old. He did not get to live to be a grown man. I'm done.
All the actions or all the events that Mingpha have been organizing, these are not in any way, as you said, that there are a lot of people from different communities that are coming together and supporting that kind of idea, which is oppressing to other people. There's not anything that is anti-white, or I've never heard anything coming from Mingpha that is for everybody who is, of a certain race. But because I think the last time when you organized that march, the majority of the people were the white people, which is
I distinct between European and white. Uh, there's a caste. This country has a caste system. The caste system is whites, mulattoes, roughly, and then blacks. Whites are considered upper caste system. Mulattoes are considered middle class, and then blacks are considered lower caste system. And because of this, after the 60s, after we did enough revolutionary movements, we had Malcolm X, we had Rosa Parks, we had Muhammad Ali, we had Martin Luther King Jr., the Weather Underground, the Black Panthers. We had a variety of different people, musicians. We had Bob Marley in the 70s and in the late 60s. We've had people. But all that's managed to happen is I've seen this, what used to be barbaric outwardly, has now become barbaric inwardly. And the barbaric inwardly is what I'm calling white culture. European culture, where people know who they are or behave accordingly in a traditional way, or in a way where they would like to acknowledge where they actually come from, who they are in a respectful and honest way, fine, you're European, you know? And not to say that all European are good or bad, but I prefer acknowledging people not from a caste system perspective, but from where they're actually from. European people, fine. People who think they're white, think they're better than everybody, think they're above the law, think they can do whatever they want to anybody at any given time, hell no, I'm not tolerating it. Simple as that. White culture is something that needs to become extinct, and I'm here to make sure it becomes extinct, because I'm not associating or affiliating or supporting any caste system mentalities. No, and we're equal in heartfulness. Some of us come from different backgrounds. There needs to be far more equanimity and equality combined. Along with that, I'm not about the arrogance of mankind. And that clearly was put on display with this case, with this young man not living to be 20 years old. And I don't want to see any more African mothers crying, or any mothers crying in general over something like this. I'm done. So my point to address certain people earlier was to say, I've given people the time. I've literally given people the respect. Nothing's been done, and now we have a dead young African American that did not get to live to be a grown man. I'm I'm going full out momentum. I've given people the due respect. Now it's time for me to take full action. Simple as that.
I was definitely addressing this thing that where I come from in this whole in this whole movement is that now we'll have to elevate ourselves above than what we look like, what color we are, and what where we come from, which is very very important. Everybody have a spirit that is given by Creator. I think if we just identify with that and with joy rather than coming from a certain community or certain country, and I think just identifying yourself with something that for no reason makes somebody better than the other, just from an ideology, that is a sickness, and that sickness have to be removed. I am better than you, or maybe you are better than him, for just because we look certain way. I think that's where um, I find it very confusing, like how people have that kind of idea. And I think more and more spirituality that is introduced, that bring people on a common platform. You are also there, and I am also there. We are, at the same platform. Let's look at the problem together, and if there is a possible solution, let's find it. That's where I look at all the problems that are that have been there but are just getting addressed recently, um, which is why we are doing this vigil.
I was encouraged by the number of people, diverse people, especially young people, who came out to protest for Black Lives Matter. And it really sort of woke up, especially the younger community of people, to realize that racism was systemic. And the reason people say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that they matter more than white lives or brown lives. It's that there are people who treat Black people like their lives don't matter. And and I think that was a shock to people until the George Floyd murder, and they realized, oh, this is what they mean, and this is what's true. And so I think a lot of people are starting, but they're just starting to realize the systemic racism that might be around them. And you know, I'm encouraged with a number of people, though, who participated in Black Lives Matter protests this summer. And so I think it's a time where we can have great change. And so I'm encouraged by that. And I think the Vigil will be a really good thing for that in the Ashland community. And I'm a mother, so when I heard that Aidan was murdered, the first thing I thought of is, like, as a mother, you don't want to have to worry about your sons all the time. And I know Black women should not have to be worrying about their sons just playing music. That is so wrong. And it's happened a lot and for a long time, and it needs to stop. And anyway, so I'm looking forward to the Vigil.
So, on the subject of the Vigil, what is your role in that going to be?
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be participating, but it will just kind of evolve. I don't have a set role that Mmmingpha has given me, so anyway, but I will be there. So
That's the most important thing, to be there, you know, like people like her, and there are so many people that are showing the support. These are the times that people just coming together and standing for what is right is such an important role. Like, that is the biggest role in itself, and that support is needed more and more from the community, and that's why, like, wherever we find this kind of thing happening, some people trying to do some effort, Mingpais have been organizing all these things. I think it's very important for just two people to show up and say that we are here, you're not alone, and you know, we share your pain. I think just acknowledging the very pain that have been caused to people is very important, and I think that's the most important role that, you know, everybody is doing. So thank you for being there.
So, Mmmingpha mentioned this meditation practice that you do. Could you tell me more about that?
This meditation is essentially a series of steps that we do, and I think it's just bringing everybody on the same page to just, you know, kind of settle down. It's nothing special. It's not an ideology. It's just close your eyes and just look at that blankness that is inside you, and that's all there is. There doesn't have to be any separate ideas going on in your brain that I am something better, you are something less, she is something, you know. And when you identify with spirit, it also sheds the identities of the gender, which is very important in the today's society. You know, all this inequality that is also happening across the gender. I don't know why the gender matters at the workplace, all the inequalities that have been happening, and in certain parts of society, I think those will kind of settle down once you stop labeling people with this or that, or, and you know, just see them as a spirit. So it's, I think, addressing these things and also introducing something to everybody to make them sure that, okay, you are not anything less, you're not anything more, and is very important in these times, that people come out of that trauma and then they have something to kind of access towards or rise above all these things. So that's what we'll be doing in this vision, and hopefully people will be feeling more like satisfied within themselves.
Could you explain the Dharma real quick?
So Dharma is translated in English as deep positive change or continuous positive change. It is the way to heal and remove unskilled behavior, constant or continuous repeated unskilled behaviors which lead to suffering. Giving in to one's wants rather than divine necessity causes karma, and in particular bad karma. So Dhamma, which is continuous positive change, is the elixir of healing for that, the opening of the deep euphoric ocean. Honor the positive change that we go through and the lessons that we learn. And that's how teachings are left behind for generation to generation to stop them from falling into karma. So those are the levels. In this level, we need to focus on the tribal relationships being healed. We're using Dhamma to do so, though, because this particular issue is addressing, this is a tribal problem. This is tribal karma right here that killed that young man, as well as greed and ignorance that killed that young man. Not only have I not seen much recognition of it, I've even heard about the lack of recognition from it from one of Aidan's best friends, as well as from other community members, including, you fellas. So that aspect needs to be exposed, and for me, I feel the innate responsibility to kick the door down on it, as well as allow the Dharma to guide it the full way it needs to.
Why is there more national attention on this story than local? Why here in Ashland is there very little discussion of this going on? Can you guys speak to that at all?
This community has a severely horrific crack addiction with burying controversial information involving race or involving gender. Particularly the things that I've seen are the hiding of the racism, the hiding of the Islamophobia, and the hiding of the rape and pedophilia. I've seen that personally.
I'm surprised by it. When the first newspaper article came on Facebook, I went, oh, that can't be real, because it was just a simple one-line thing, and that was it. And I went, maybe this is faux news. It wasn't a big story at first, and it took people in the Facebook community to say hey, this thing really happened, and and some of those people helped organize the vigil on Thanksgiving Day. I didn't know about what was going on because the place where I get my news didn't have anything about it. And I talked to Mmmingpha about it, and he says, well, it happened at the Stratford Inn, which is it across from Safeway? Yeah. And I went, oh my God, no one told me that. And so there's a lack of information on it just to begin with. A lot of people don't get newspapers anymore. They get their news from Facebook or some other media, and it just wasn't really covered very well on that platform. I'm glad that Mmmingpha is doing something about it and that we're having the vigil. I think that's really important. Is it going to be on the plaza?
So I'm scheduling, and this, considering that this interview is going to be released before we do the actual prayer vigil ceremony, for anybody who sees this, I'm preparing to do it at 4 locations. The first location is going to be in front of the Stratford Hotel. Second location, which will be the most primary, is going to be Railroad Park in Ashland, Oregon. The third is the Plaza, and the fourth is Dead Indian Road. And to have people at all locations involved and engaging in prayer. We're going to have a Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and I'm going to figure out some way technologically to link those things up so that we can all be in some form of unison with each other. And Mayor Akins is going to be attending.
All right, I want to thank the three of you so much for sitting down to talk to me today. This was a fantastic discussion, so thank you so much.
Yeah, namaste.
Yeah.
One more thing before we go. We make these videos free to watch, but they're not free to make. If you're potentially interested in helping support our efforts so that we can make this show more often and make it better, please consider checking out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sailorboymedia. Any contribution there would help us a great deal. I think at the moment we have 1 supporter, so if you're feeling charitable, have a look. That's all. Thanks.
A new dimension in sound. This is Love by